Santa's in Trouble by Christopher Egbert and Michael J Egbert. Narrated by Annette Christensen. This book is dedicated to my family and the joy I found in the stories of Alice in Wonderland. In the depths of the North Pole hid Santa Claus, spending his days toiling away in his workshop. For weeks, the elves could see that something was bothering him. Mrs. Claus noticed it too. Everyone tried as hard as they could to boost his spirit, but Santa remained where he was. Day after day, night after night, he sat there behind his desk, thumbing through a stack of papers, looking gloomier than ever. What no one understood, nor could they see, is the dismay he felt, for his eyes saw how many children had lost their way. It saddened Santa to see the light in their hearts dwindle with each passing year. Since his designation to the post of Santa, Santa Claus knew the power found in Christmas to bring joy to the world. It was his mission to share that joy through charity and love. Unfortunately, Santa realizes his role in Christmas isn't enough to sway the vulnerable minds of the rising generation. With nowhere else to go, Santa turned to his most trusted elf, assigning her to a special mission, one that would hopefully uncover the child who still possesses the true spirit of Christmas. The wait for such news took some time. Thankfully, that fateful day came when Joy, Santa's most trusted elf, came forward with the name Santa had been hoping for. Santa wasn't surprised when Joy presented the name David Johnson of Clarksville, Tennessee, as the one child possessing the purest of spirits. Santa smiled. "Oh, David, sweet, sweet David. Of course, it's you." Surprisingly, most people don't know this fact, but being Santa has its perks. No, not the reindeer, nor the buffet of desserts laid out each Christmas Eve. There's one perk more meaningful than the rest. That is, to have someone believe in you. Life's difficult on its own. However, living without a soul believing in you tends to compile, adding to the burden you're having to carry. For those select few who found someone who still believes in them, a special imprint is branded in their heart and mind, attaching them to the individual for eternity. For Santa, he recalls every child who gleefully awaited his return. It's that belief in him that allows Santa to remember David. For Joy, she's known David for years and watched him grow from infancy into childhood. In her opinion, one thing that remained consistent is David's merriment. To Joy, David seemed to keep the spirit of Christmas all year round. He never wavered in his fervor. His festive nature beamed through the darkest days, always remembering the joy and love he felt at Christmas. After agreeing that David was the child they were looking for, Santa sent Joy to fetch him to the North Pole. Knowing the seriousness of the mission, Joy left, using a portal that's powered through children's belief in Santa. Some have speculated on the reasons why Santa wouldn't use this type of portal himself, rather than his sleigh and reindeer. Unfortunately, each portal is only as powerful as the child it's meant for. If the child's belief wavers, so does the portal. It's too high of a risk to put Santa through one. Instead, Santa's elves are the only ones who use them. They know which child would support that type of travel. Regrettably, the infestation of disbelief has spread throughout the world, making even simple portals risky to travel through. Still, knowing the resiliency David has, Joy thought it was worth the risk. She quickly jumped through the portal and found herself in the woods next to David's home. A fresh blanket of snow settled on the ground the night before, making it difficult for Joy to hide her tracks in case she was spotted. As Joy wandered outside, trying to locate David's whereabouts, she noticed there were some peculiar tracks next to hers. She examined them, hoping to uncover who they belonged to. It took a minute or so, but Joy realized whose tracks these were. Fearing the worst, Joy directed her eyes towards the house, hoping to spot David before it was too late. As she peered through the window, Joy saw David coming down the stairs with an empty laundry basket. For a moment, Joy was distracted by David's thoughtfulness. She assumed that David had either finished putting away clothes or was about to tend to a fresh batch. Either way, Joy swelled with pride over the way David carried himself. Right then she saw coming down the stairs, closely behind him, a Yeti. Not any Yeti, but the very Yeti whose presence has caused Joy to break protocol by bringing David to the North Pole. She gasped, realizing that this Yeti knew the same thing she did, that David held the power of the North Pole. Although they were initially friendly, this Yeti grew weary with Santa's presence in the north. His weariness slipped into dismay. His dismay turned towards dread, and his dread resorted into resentment to the point where this Yeti had disdain for all things Santa. Knowing his increasing hostility towards the creatures of the North, most residents of the North Pole chose to forget his name. Even among his kind, this Yeti has become an aberration, something that isn't considered real. Yet this Yeti has found the one thing that keeps Santa going, and it's people's belief in him. Slowly, he's found ways to infiltrate the minds of youth, corrupting their purest thoughts and twisting them into cynicism. An adult's apathetic approach to life has allowed them to be disinterested in their children, often neglecting their well-being, causing them to doubt the very good which they were once raised on. Poor David! To be in the crosshairs of this Yeti is too much to consider. Joy quickly sprinted towards the house, analyzing any possibility that would spare him from the influence of this bitter creature. Right then she saw David open the door to the basement and realized that the door would be enough of a barrier to keep the Yeti from reaching him. Joy redirected her efforts towards a small window that was sitting above the ground. She opened it a crack and slipped through before anyone noticed. Once inside, she could hear David coming down the stairs. She rushed to the switch, which controlled the lights, and turned it off. Everything went dark. This brief moment of hesitancy allowed Joy a chance to rush to the top of the stairs and lock the door, keeping the Yeti from finding them. When David turned on the lights, he heard the door lock and looked towards the stairs. He then saw Joy awkwardly staring down at him. Frightened, David dropped the basket and stumbled backward into the washing machine. Joy scurried over, attempting to assure him that everything was okay. Afraid of asking anything more, David whimpered, Who are you?" Joy gave him a meek smile, hoping it would ease David's insecurities, then offered, "I'm Joy. I'm one of Santa's elves, and he needs your help." "Santa, come on. Get real. There's no such person." Stunned by his dismissal, Joy wanted to ask him what was going on, but remembered the Yeti. She knew this creature had been feeding David false precepts on what is real and what is fake. Any chance of reclaiming what was once wholesome at the North Pole is about to be lost. Fearing the worst, Joy determined the only way to prevent any further damage was to immediately bring David to the North Pole. She then summoned the portal and urged David to step through. Interestingly enough, a weird phenomenon occurred with David, which takes place in all of humanity. The second a person believes they learned something, they willfully choose to stop learning. All curiosity ceases to exist. It's as if they've chosen to settle on the limited knowledge that they've been given without ever questioning its validity or the source from which it came. Knowing the damage already caused by his skepticism, Joy took David by the hand and pulled him into the portal. Without warning, the portal they entered disappeared. David looked around, dazed and confused, wondering what had happened to him. Joy attempted to gauge where the portal took them, then realized they landed in the frozen forest 20 miles south of the North Pole. Icicles dripped from each branch, dangling above their heads. Worried their presence would somehow loosen the grip of these hazards, Joy turned to David, motioning with her hands that they needed to remain silent. Still torn on what's taken place, David approached the elf and asked, "What's going on?" Joy pressed her finger against his lip, again motioning for David to remain silent. Annoyed by the dismissal, David ignored the suggestion and blurted, "I asked you a question. What's going on?" Joy's fears were realized. The vibrations of his demands danced off each icicle, shaking them from the branch to which they clung. Joy then took David by the hand, urging him to run. Uncertain about what to do, David remained motionless until the first icicle fell within an inch of his foot. Panic-stricken, David darted around Joy, heading in the direction he was initially taken towards. Immediately, a sea of icicles plummeted from their branches. Joy and David did their best to quicken their pace as each icicle fell, closer and closer to them. A few hundred feet away was a clearing. Knowing it was the only chance of surviving, the pair sprinted with all their might towards the opening. Fearing what was behind them, the pair decided to leap into the clearing, landing face first into the snow. Uncertain on whether the danger had passed, the pair remained frozen in their place in case anything else had decided to draw after them. After a brief hesitation, Joy turned around to see where they were. Seeing that his capture was motioning her head around, David likewise looked to see if they were safe. Thankfully, there wasn't anything else that would cause them any further harm. Frustrated by the situation, David returned his attention to the elf and asked, "I need to know what's going on." For the first time, Joy was able to explain her presence to David. She began by apologizing for the inconvenience which she caused by bringing him there, then explained, "I'm afraid that what I have to share will be difficult to hear. Although I'm pretty sure you're right, it's time to explain everything." David repositioned himself, believing that the explanation offered was of great importance. Joy continued, "Some people know this, but most don't. All things magical in this world are driven by the beliefs of others. For years, the belief in Santa has sustained the power within the North Pole. It's what kept us going. However, something happened these past couple of years. Children stopped believing." Uncertain whether he understood what was being shared, Joy paused, allowing David to catch his thoughts. She then added, "It's bad enough to watch a child grow up and stop believing in you, but to have the child of that child never believe has crippled the entire magical community. Santa has spent months trying to figure out what happened. He's even gotten to the point where he's considered announcing himself to the world." "Why doesn't he?" David interrupted. "He deliberated on it, but determined the power of knowing is inadequate to the power generated through believing. As he put it, if people knew, there would be no hope, and if there was no hope, there would be no belief, and without belief, faith would dry up, and it's faith which causes the soul to act. According to Santa, if kids knew he existed, they'd automatically do good, stripping them of their free will. It's the ability to choose good that amplifies their belief, which in turn powers everything up here. Confused, David contemplated everything he heard before asking, "You mean to tell me that the world stopped believing in Santa? Why?" "We don't know. We've tried to figure it out, but the best answer we got is this Yeti lurking around everyone's house. It's because of the Yeti that I pushed you through that portal. I'm pretty sure my doing so was the reason we landed here instead of where we were supposed to go." Perplexed, David countered, "Wait, 2 things. You mean to tell me there was a Yeti in my house and that's why you took me here?" "Sort of," Joy acknowledged. "There was a Yeti in your house, but the reason I brought you here is that Santa needs you." "Okay, why was there a Yeti in my house?" "I'm pretty certain he was feeding you things you didn't really want to see." "How so?" Joy offered. "I saw that you were on your tablet. Do you remember what you saw?" "Yeah, sure. It was a video of a fight at a restaurant." Joy shook her head, then explained, "I can't pretend to know everything, but I'm certain it's not natural to see those sorts of things. Fighting is one of them. There's something disturbing about watching one person wanting to harm another. It changes you. I'm afraid that you were being fed that information to distort your view of the world. Instead of seeing the common good, images like that lead you to believe everyone is one step away from tearing someone else apart. That kind of thinking leads to unbelief. It starts with yourself, then your belief in others, and finishes with corrupting those things beyond your comprehension. I'm afraid that Yeti was doing everything he could to work you over." "Work me over?" Joy answered. "To change you. For some reason, he wanted to, and I think I know why." "What's that?" "You're our last hope. If he can get to you, then all is lost." David challenged, "That can't be right. There's no way I'm the only one who still believes in Santa." "Sadly, it's true. Sure, there are those who pretend to believe, but they never go about upholding the principles of their belief. They view Santa as a fad, someone who's fashionable to support, but when it comes to matching their actions to their words, most fall short. That's not the case with you. I've watched you grow up into something special. That love you get at Christmas, I see how you carry it wherever you go." Disturbed by these facts, David took a step back to gather his thoughts. Joy gently reminded, "I know it's a lot to take in, but if we're going to get where we got to go, then we need to move on before it's too late." "Why don't we use the portal?" "I'm afraid portals, like most magical things, are built on belief. You know, the choices we make. I took yours away when I dragged you through. I couldn't conjure one even if I tried." Once David accepted Joy's explanation, he was determined to help and knew if they were going to make it on time, they'd need to be on their way. Thankfully, the frozen forest wasn't too far away from the nearby gingerbread town of Windsor.